This is a slide that I often like to use to start off with, which is in fact a piece of iron ore. So I think this for me is really fundamental to understanding about surgical instruments and the basics of surgical instruments from the perspective of the compositions of the stainless steel. So iron extracted from iron ore makes up around 80% of the composition of stainless steel. There are other elements involved as well, such as carbon, which allows the steel to be hardened and to be fit for purpose, and nickel and chromium each play their part in relation to corrosion resistance. Chromium allowing the device to be oxidized, passivated, which we'll come to later, and giving it its shiny finish. So I think what we've got to remember is that iron oxide is iron in its most stable state, and you'll be familiar with the orangey taint on the iron oxide, which obviously is very, very close to the color of rust. And that's a very, very important thing to remember, that when we're using, when we're talking surgical instruments, okay, so we're extracting the iron ore through smelting, extracting the iron from the iron ore through smelting and obviously processes such as that. But when it comes down to it, we've got to remember that an instrument that's nice and shiny, nice, bright and shiny, like the one on the screen, there's a lot more to it beyond just being a stainless steel surgical instrument. So there's a lot more in the composition that we need to understand if we're going to have a real grasp on how instruments can last potentially for sort of 20, 30 years.